Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? We hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving. I know my belly is nice and stuffed, Adam. I'm sure yours is too. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Hope everything was great with you and your family, and all of our listeners there. Hope they had a great day of family and football and all that good stuff. This is our game preview podcast. We're going to preview this Eagles division game. And you know what's striking to me right off the bat, Adam, is that it's been 8 weeks since the Eagles played a division game. They had that really early one against Dallas, and they were a completely different team back then. And you go, and now you got like 4 in the next 5 games. I do like the cluster of division games at the end, but I also wish that they would not cluster it so much at the end that you go like 2 months without a division game. I wouldn't mind it like a division game squeezed in here and there somewhere in October or early November.
You know, it's funny because remember for a series of years, the Eagles would open up against Washington.
Yep.
Whether I think mostly in Washington. But anyway, yeah, it is weird because I remember when we did that Dallas game, we previewed for the Dallas game, it didn't seem like Dallas week. It was too early in the season.
Agreed.
We need Dallas late, and we have it now. We have it late. Actually, it's week 18. First time in an 18-game season. So, yeah, this is we always like it better when both teams are really good. Well, the Eagles have certainly improved, as you said. They're a different team now. They've had a complete metamorphosis on offense, where the Giants are just a bad football team. They've severely underachieved on offense. We'll get into what the new coordinator decision means, particularly for this game. But overall, when you just sum up where both teams are, the Eagles are completely different. They've made some good adjustments on defense. We'll see what they do in this game. And then offensively, as we've noted, they've made this change on offense, which nobody saw coming. We called for it, though. We did call for it earlier in the season, but we didn't think it would be like this, folks.
Yeah, no, not at all. And it's made me think about this matchup a lot because the Eagles have undergone a metamorphosis on offense without really changing the personnel. It's really just changing the scheme and catering to what they do best based on the personnel that they have. And that's made me think about the Giants. And as lousy as the Giants are, I think offensively, their problem isn't per se a personnel issue. I mean, I know the offensive line isn't great, but we could also say that about Eagles wide receivers after Devontae Smith. The Eagles have been able to masquerade that. Can the Giants, in the post-Jason Garrett era here, with Freddie Kitchens heavily involved in the game planning, can they use all their offensive weaponry to an advantage from a schematic standpoint? I know the offensive line is hard to cover up. You can cover up receivers more than O-line, but when you have those kind of weapons, you can do things you can get a quick game going. You can get the screen game going. You can do what the Eagles have done in their own way to capitalize on what you have. And there's no question when we get into it, the Giants have good offensive players. And so you do wonder if this kind of comes at a very strange time for the Eagles, that the Giants are trying to go through the stage one of their metamorphosis. I mean, they just fired Jason Garrett, and they're going to be coming with something different. They're not going to just come with the same game plan.
Well, Freddie Kitchens, according to someone who coached with him, said he's very progressive in passing. He's a big passing game guy, not a big run game guy. Now, obviously, you'd have to go back to 2018 where he called the plays after Hugh Jackson got fired. And then he became the head coach of the 19. Now, I think in 19 when he was the head coach, I think Todd Monken was his OC. And there was some kind of confusion about who was actually calling the plays.
Right.
But I know in 18 he did a phenomenal job calling plays, very aggressive play caller. So you mentioned it, Kenny Golladay, Slayton, who's a deep threat. Kadarius Toney's hurt once again with a quadriceps contusion. We'll get into their injury report in a second. And John Ross, he's a shot play guy. He scored in the bomb against the Saints. So you're right. They have firepower. And I know Evan Ingram, Giant fans are up in arms over him. Mm-hmm. He's been an underachiever, but he's a pretty athletic tight end, number 88. So they'll have an opportunity to spread the Eagles out, particularly if Darius Slay does not play.
Sure, and not to mention, Saquon Barkley should be a better player, and Kyle Rudolph has been a decent tight end. They just have too many good enough players offensively. Kenny Golladay, you mentioned, to be as bad as they've been, even with their deficiencies. And we'll see if this is the first step to them kind of turning that part around. What I want to mention before we kind of get into everything. We had a nice Ask ITB, so it's up on our podcast and YouTube platforms. Had a lot of questions, a lot of them about Jalen Reagor and the number 2 or 3 option in this offense. So we tried to talk about that as much as possible. I thought there were very good questions there. Our pregame show will go off as usual at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. till noon. Myself, Adam, Jason Avant, Greg Cosell to preview the Eagles-Giants game. And, of course, the replay, ITB replay, will be available immediately after the show, which it's been done for the last 2 or 3 weeks now, and people are really enjoying that. I had no idea, Adam, at the time that there would be such a demand to want to see the show after we recorded it, but you never know how many people are doing things at one time, and that's the beauty of kind of the podcast version of the internet. You can listen to it whenever you get a chance, so it'll be up there, and we're really happy about the reception that's gotten.
Just me, but this is the way I think about teams and their fans. So when the team is doing well, they want to hear what people have to say. When they're not doing well, they want to hear what they have to say, and then they start tuning them out when the team is like, I looked at our numbers last year, and weeks 13 people, I mean, the traffic dropped off because people were apathetic. They were like, enough of this team. I can't stand it. Yeah. You know, the Wentz drama, the injuries were unbelievable. And then this year, you've got the newness of this coach, this sort of dynamic head coach with a personality that people gravitate to. People are starting to they like to tease him because of his phrases, but they actually like Sirianni. And as much as venom they have for John Gannon, they're starting to see him do better. And this is an endearing team. They're very close, as Sirianni said. They've got great energy. They have a quarterback people absolutely love from a personality standpoint because he's a good guy. He's very accountable. Yep. This is a likable team. I think that in terms of what you're saying, I mean, I was stunned when our business manager Josh Weinfeld got the pod version, because the Twitter and YouTube versions are immediately after our show's over. They're like you just tap, but it just reloads. Whereas on the pod version, Josh put it up within an hour, and we saw the traffic. Like, there's a market for this. People actually want to hear what we have to say after the game.
I know.
It's like here in the pregame show. Okay, 5,000 people listen. I'm like, this is unbelievable. We love it. I guess they just want to hear was our analysis spot on. You know, no, we picked the game wrong. The Denver game, we all got it wrong. But with the game last week, we all got it right with the Saints.
That's the one thing I find fascinating about football, and you know, I think our show is second to none really on analysis and X's and O's. I mean, having, you know, guys like Greg Cosell and Jason Avant, we're very fortunate to have. So, but the funny thing is, you can have the best analysts in the game, and you can break it down and watch all the tape. But then what happens? You know, once the ball is kicked off, you get injuries, you get turnovers that you don't expect, you get all sorts of things that happen that you just can't foresee by watching 25 hours of tape and talking about it and getting inside information. It's really the big. I don't think any other sport is like that. Yeah, right, I think, like, you know, when you watch a baseball game and you see a great pitching matchup, like between like Kershaw and Max Scherzer, or something, well, now they're teammates, but you know, something like that, you kind of know, I think, what you're going to get. You know, you're going to know what the pitcher throws, what the batters tend to strike out on. It's all part of the plan. And if you say, I think this is going to be a 3-2 game, you're probably going to be right most of the part. But football is unlike any other sport where you break it down and you know the weaknesses and the strengths, but then when they play, everything goes out the window. I just think that's the most amazing thing to me about football.
Well, this year. Yeah, this year.
Oh, God, especially this year with all the crazy upsets.
Impossible to pick it up. I used to go 13-3, 14-2 just straight up without a point spread. Mm-hmm. I'm celebrating a victory if I get 10 games called correctly out of the 16 a week. It's so hard to pick games.
It really, really is. It's amazing. It's totally true about it being the most team sport there is. For every single play, both offensively and defensively, to be executed, you really need to have all 11 guys on the same page. There'll be once in a while where one guy can blow up a play or make a great move, but for over a 70-snap game, it really does take all 11 on each side to make it go, make what you want, the game plan work. It's really incredible in that regard. All right, so make sure you're checking out InsideTheBirds.com. We're going to have lots of great coverage of this game. Andrew DeCecco will have his scouting report out for the game, and of course, Adam's got his power rankings up. We've got some analysis, so you know, please subscribe. It's free. Have it come right to your reader by getting the RSS feed. And then also, please keep leaving us 5-star reviews if you're an Apple user on the Apple reviews function, because it really, really does help it. We really appreciate it when you do. We got some things we got to break down here. First, of course, we have to start with some of the major transactions, some of the major injuries that will be impacting this. And before we get to that, it's that time of the year again where everybody wants to be, get the newest and the latest. The holidays are coming up. You got gifts you got to give people. And I think that there's nothing more fun than getting gifts for people that you won. I mean, you put some effort into it and won in it, and you barely had to pay anything for it. And that's why there's Deal Dash, the online shopping platform that's actually fun. Deal Dash is the longest running penny auction website and app around. That's right, you can win things just bidding pennies to get them. And if you think that's too good to be true, I totally understand. I mean, we've seen a car go for $900, a brand new TV for less than $2. So don't be a loser. Stop paying full retail price for things you want and get on Deal Dash. Go to DealDash.com or download the Deal Dash app. And when you register, enter the promo code ITB for a special offer for some bonus free bids. That's Deal Dash app or DealDash.com. All right. Let's talk about some of the transactions because some of the things we feared were true. Linebacker Davion Taylor, who had been improving at him, underwent a surgery. Now, the interesting thing is the coaches, I think Nick Sirianni said that he can still return late this year, which I'm suggesting it means that it's not a full tear of
maybe it was
his
a scope.
knee.
Yeah,
right.
Maybe it was a scope.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Something a little more, what they call minor surgery. We've seen.
Well, it might have been. It could. We don't see. What's interesting is Sirianni said he had a sprained knee. Knee sprains don't get surgery unless there's cartilage. There's something wrong around the knee. Mm-hmm. So who knows? The earliest he could return will be week 16 because you have to miss games, not weeks. It's 3 games.
Right.
And so they have the bye week 14. So the earliest he could play would be week 16 if he's healthy enough to. So we're going to see Alex Singleton start for him. And that was the one reserve move that they made. And they got Matt McCain is back. What? It's just, I don't know. They obviously like the guy. So Broncos got him back from the Eagles. Now they got rid of him. The Eagles claimed him. He's back. And
that was the strange part,
stunk.
Right? The quickness with which the Broncos brought him back after the Eagles waived him. I think the Broncos claimed him off waivers, right?
They did.
They sign him to the they claimed him off waivers.
Weird.
And then they release him, and the Eagles go to get him back. So it's pretty interesting.
Get it. Yeah, I mean the Eagles obviously like this guy. They have so many corners on the roster. In fact, the Eagles waived him earlier in November. Denver claimed him. So that's amazing to me. He's been on Eagles, Denver, and Eagles all in the same month. It's crazy. And the Eagles signed him, remember, originally from Denver's practice squad in September.
Right. It's a lot of flights, man, from PHL to Denver.
Right. PHL to Den. Right.
Yeah.
Right. They really must like him, the Eagles. He's got good size, but I do wonder if this is kind of one of these situations they're looking towards next year because Nelson's on a 1-year deal. Slay's obviously great, but they don't know about McPherson yet, whether he plays into that outside role opposite Slay. He needs a lot of development, so they have to figure this out. As you were saying a couple weeks ago, they've added a bunch of corners. They're kind of just working through it and seeing who can play and who can't play.
Yeah. Plus, and there's no doubt in my mind, this is what made the Avonte Maddox contract kind of fascinating to me. There's no doubt in my mind they're going to be drafting a cornerback. Now, where and when, I couldn't tell you, but they really need to draft an outside corner.
I would say 2.
At least 2, right? We said that last draft, they only drafted 1. But that kind of clouds, let's say they draft an outside corner high, one of those first-round picks or second round, you expect the guy to play, although the Eagles have not had success with that. But let's say they get lucky and actually hit on a drafted corner for once, and that guy plays, okay, then what are you doing with Zach McPherson? I thought he was going to move to the slot if they did that because he had a lot of slot experience at Texas Tech, and it may be eventually where he's best suited. I have no idea. But with Avonte Maddox entrenched in the slot, it gives them optionality. And look, I've got no issue with stockpiling good players. You get injuries, but I just thought that it was interesting that Maddox got that extension, knowing that Zach McPherson's around the corner and that you're probably also going to draft a cornerback pretty high. But, that'll be a discussion for the offseason.
Yeah, that one will be interesting because Slay turns 31 in January, obviously playing at an elite level. Mm-hmm. You generally, corners and safeties lose their legs around 33, 34 years old. So you figure 2 more years of him as a primetime starter you've got. And then you just don't know about McPherson. So yeah, if they keep the 3 first-round picks, certainly corner's got to be in the thought process. And we don't know enough about the draft to know who's going to be good and not good at corner in this draft. But I'll be interested to see, as it pertains to this game, I'll be very interested to see what happens if Slade does not play. What do they do in terms of matchups? Do they put – we don't want to see Maddox on the outside. We want to see him stay on the inside. Well, McPherson obviously is going to play a lot of snaps on the outside. Mm-hmm. Who are the other guys who play? Does Josiah Scott play? Marcus Epps has played nickel before. He had to do it in that game earlier. Was it against the Chargers he played nickel? Can't remember. Cosell talked about it on our show. He said he knows
played it last week too. Oh no, dime last week. You're right. Nickel I believe was the Chargers game. Yeah.
Right. So they just don't have the numbers. It's the one area where this front office needs to do a better job. They should have had a veteran outside corner.
Right.
One of these guys are on the street because it's one thing to take a look at McPherson, but you can't look at it and say to start the season, oh, we're not going to be very good, so let's just not add anybody. Mm-hmm. They should have added somebody. That's the one criticism I would have. Is they don't have a veteran outside.
They did bring back to their practice squad Craig James, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't he still there? He does have experience.
Brought back, and yes, you're correct. Now
it's kind of a sleeper to elevate at the the deadline.
He's had a lot of injuries. He can play inside or outside. He knows the Gannon stuff in terms of defense because of his history with Minnesota, but not the most dependable guy. But I would rather have a true veteran who's been through it before we started.
Right.
Because that's to me, right now, based on their schedule, I don't want to jinx this for Eagle fans, but there's a very legitimate shot they're going to get a wild card. If they could, knock on wood, stay healthy, and Hurts continues to progress the way that he has lately, and they stick with this run game, the blueprint's there to win football games. This schedule set up so well for them.
No doubt about it. You set up really well for us to get into injuries. Let's start with the Giants. They've got a lot of guys who seem, as we talk about it right now, and don't have the benefit of the foresight here, who are important players, and you have to see what goes on with them. Starting, of course, with Saquon Barkley, who played against the Bucs last week with the ankle, and then a couple wide receivers: Sterling Shepard, Kadarius Toney, John Ross. They all have quad injuries, which is like ridiculously crazy. Yeah. And so does Adoree Jackson, their cornerback. So I don't know. There's some kind of quad endemic going on around the Giants. But so watch your legs if you're playing for Big Blue.
So Shepard, Shepard, I don't expect him to play. He has not practiced in almost 5 weeks, so I'd be shocked if he played. Tony got hurt in the game with his quadriceps contusion, bruised quadriceps. So we'll see what he can do and cannot do. And John Ross has a major history of injury. Now, he is their shot play guy along with Darius Slayton. Slade versus Slayton matchup. We'll see if that transpires in this game. But overall, they've got explosion. They've got talent. So the way that the Giants will do it at wide receiver, if Tony doesn't play, it'll be Galladay, who's finally off the injury report. It'll be Galladay. Depending on what Tony can do, we'll have to see. You might remember Colin Johnson. We've talked about him before. He's a big physical receiver who scored some red zone touchdowns with the Jaguars last year. They claimed him off waivers. Means he would dress. He would be there. He would have to dress as a backup. With Shepard unlikely to play, and if Tony plays, it would be Galladay, Tony, Slayton definitely will play a lot, and John Ross. Now, John Ross, again, you don't know with him what, as you said, you just don't know. All these guys are hurt with these quadriceps injuries. It's kind of weird. I don't quite understand it, why they're quadriceps injuries, but we will see what happens. We don't know right now as of Friday morning who will dress and won't dress. But Shepard, again, almost is uncertain to play. Galladay is the guy Eagles know very well, and we'll see what he can do. Now the question is, again, is Slayton is Darius Slay going to play? And if not, how do they deploy him? The Eagles are in trouble. The one thing I believe, the guy I spoke to, I believe he's going to be right. If you're going against the Eagles, and if you're absolutely spreading the Eagles out, if Darius Slay does not get cleared, you'd be a fool not to spread them out because they don't have the depth of corner.
Totally. I absolutely agree with you on that. Kyle Rudolph has an ankle, so we'll see what happens with him. And as far as some players who we know are either on IR or reserve some list, and it's another who's who. As you mentioned, Dante Pettis with a shoulder, Shane Lemieux, who's playing for the Rangers as well. No, I'm just kidding. He's got a knee. Now, Matt Skura has been taking his place, right? The old Ravens lineman.
Matt Skura, yep.
Right, Matt Skura. Not a bad, not a great player, but for the Giants, they'll take it. Nick Gates, he broke his leg, didn't he?
Yeah, it was ugly. I think it might have been a week. Week 1 maybe. Yeah. And then they made a trade. Now, Billy Price was a very decorated center coming out of Ohio State.
Right.
And he came in with a pre-existing injury for that draft in 2018. Right. He was a bust. They got rid of him. Now he's starting. He's not bad. In fact, from what we understand, their offensive line is not as bad as it was last year. They got Andrew Thomas back last week at left tackle. Nate Solder is their right tackle. That's not his natural position of left tackle. He's 6'8".
Right.
It's not. Look, the bottom line is the Eagles have an advantage here with their D line versus the Giant offensive line.
Yeah.
They need a win up front. The Cox had energy last week against their opponent. I thought Cox came. I thought he looked good against the Saints. He flashed. So let's see how he could win this week against the interior of this Giant offensive line.
Yeah, it's not like an Ohio State center to be bad, man. That's kind of a center factory, right? I mean, they put Nick Mangold in the league. Right. They put who's the other guy? Is it Corey Linsley? Right, he's an Ohio State kid. Is he?
Did he go to one? He's great. He's really good.
Linsley was an Ohio State kid, but they're usually pretty good with their O linemen. It didn't surprise me that when he moved on from the Bengals, that he started to play a little bit better.
Ohio State. Yeah, great.
Yeah. And of course, the Giants' defense hurt by the losses of Blake Martinez, one of their best tackling linebackers. Jabril Peppers. Yeah, he is a tackling machine. And Jabril Peppers has an ACL, and Logan Ryan is on the COVID list. So I saw him even tweet or put something out on social media that he misses playing and he wants to get better for his team. He's a great dude. So, yeah, he's a good dude. He's a dog
lover like you and I, and he's a good dude. He's when they signed him, he was a nickel safety. He was like they played big nickel. Then he just took over the job. So what they're doing with Peppers out, and if Ryan does not get cleared, they were 4 safety team. Now they're a 2 safety team. It's Xavier McKinney, the former second round out of Alabama, and Julian Love, who's not a bad player.
No, not a bad player at all.
Yeah. So they have him, and they also have the other J.R. Reed, not the one from the Eagles from many years ago, who tore the tendons in his thigh or whatever that was crazy, trying to jump over a fence. Remember that story?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. You what was that from 04, 05 or something like that?
No, that was about
08, 9?
It happened after the 04 season going into the 05 season, if I'm not mistaken.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so they're down at safety. We'll see if Ryan could get clear. That certainly would help them.
Right.
And that will be it for the injuries. But Dante Pettis, it's a shame. He's out for the season with shoulder surgery. He finally started to realize his potential. He was playing a lot for them and got hurt. I just believe that other than the Giants' ability to spread the Eagles out, the Eagles' D-line versus the Giant offensive line is such an advantage for the Eagles.
Yeah, definitely. I look at all these injuries, and just like the point I made before, if all the Giants' wide receivers were healthy, this would be a pretty diverse and fascinating group. I mean, Sterling Shepard would be the perfect guy you'd want to have against the Eagles if you were trying to work that quick game. He's killed the Eagles from the slot for most of his career. Cardarius Toney, you can tell he's going to be good. He's smooth, he's fluid, moves like a Corvette. He's going to be a good player if he can keep his head on straight. John Ross, I mean, the guy was the 9th overall pick. He had speed like crazy coming out of Washington. Yeah, he's always hurt, but he's still got a lot of speed.
I think we were doing the show for the Fanatic in Philly, the draft. Was that the one, 17?
Yes.
We were like, what?
I know.
It's just like one of these things like, what are they doing?
Yeah, I know the Eagles liked him. Remember, they were looking for some explosion at that point, but they didn't. 17. That was a little too rich where he went to the Bengals at that point.
Right, but you're right, man. He's explosive. He's a shot play guy. And now here's a question. We'll get into Eagles injuries in a second here, but I'll be interested to see what Gannon does here because of Slayton. Slayton has had good games against the Eagles.
Yep.
Because of Slayton and Ross, is he going to play too deep? We'll see. But that to me is something that Gannon hasn't been. He'll do too deep. If Darius Slay's not playing, they'll be like the stands playing deep safeties.
Yeah. Hey, whoever takes over this offense, as whether it's Freddie Kitchens or going into the future. I mean, into the future, right?
Oh,
If you
yeah.
get yourself a healthy set of Galladay, Slayton, Shepard, Kadarius Toney, John Ross,
Deep, I know.
you're probably going to be pretty good if you can keep these guys on the field. All
Yeah,
right,
sure.
the Eagles' injuries are, they're really impactful. Jordan Howard with the knee sprain, I know it's looking pretty bleak for him to play.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see, probably see Kenny Gainwell get active, but they just
Yep.
don't have, Gainwell's been nice, but they'll really be missing the downhill element of their game that's been so impactful for the last 4 weeks. I mean, it's no short thing losing Jordan Howard, even if it's just a week.
He's been a surprise. I mean, and the thing, he's not as finesse as he was earlier in his career. He's running with more power.
Mm-hmm.
He's so good through the hole. His speed through the hole for a big guy has been good. And then Josh Sweat, now he's added to the injury report this week. We have to keep an eye on this.
Yeah.
Because remember, his career was almost ended in high school, and anytime it's Josh Sweat and a knee, you're going to look at that. Sean Bradley, their top special teams player, with the neck, he should be able to play.
Mm-hmm.
We'll keep an eye on that. He's just so good. He's doing exactly what he was drafted to do. He's a 6th-round pick, play specials, and then obviously Darius Slay-Worthy is going to get cleared, and he'll need to get cleared before they take the bus tomorrow afternoon, up to the Meadowlands, where they'll be next week too with the Jets. How crazy is that?
Crazy, very just crazy. Yeah, the Sweat is one to keep an eye on, so hopefully he'll be all right there, and it's just a little deal. We'll see. Sean Bradley expected to play. That's good. You mentioned Slay, the concussion, and so Devontae Smith had the elbow thing, but he was off now, right? Dallas, and Hargrave are all good to go. So is Barnett and McLeod. So that's always good to see when guys are not on the injury list.
Yeah, they're off. Yeah, well, Hargrave, right? Hargrave, 4 weeks he was on it, and that I was always wondering, like, what is going on with him? So Goddard came out of the game with a concussion. He's not listed with it anymore. And then what worried me with Barnett was he was added Friday, and Sirianni was so vague, and he said they were gathering more information. I'm like, this is not good. You can worry about that, but he came through well because he's not listed on the injury report. And Rodney McLeod coming off the ACL surgery, he's listed. He was listed with a knee last week, right, but he's not. And Smith is still wearing protection, but he's apparently fine, as you said. So that is it for the injuries.
All right, let's get into the actual matchup. First, if you want to get an advantage over your sportsbook, please download BetQL. It's the only app you'll need to make smart bets. They've got a best bet computer model that scans over 350,000 unique bets a year to give you the best bet recommendation for every game, all major sports, and it gives you the reason why you should make the bet. Their model covers spreads, over-unders, player prop bets, everything. And if you don't want to use the model, if you're a researcher, BetQL's got all the necessary tools to help you along there, from sharp data to line movement, team summaries, lineup and injury breaking news. They even got a leaderboards to track your success. So you go to the App Store or Google Play Store now, download BetQL. You can also go to the website, try.betql.co/ITB to get started. You enter the discount code ITB at checkout to get 25% off their subscription offerings. They've also got a sportsbook offers page. If you live in one of the eligible states, you can claim free offers upon signing up at one of the many sportsbooks listed, so don't miss out on your chance to beat your sportsbook this football season using BetQL. All right, Adam, let's start off with we'll go with the Eagles' offense versus the Giants' defense. It is you have an unbelievable stat here. The Eagles have gone 72% run heavy on early downs in their last 4 games. 70. That number jumps out the same way the Eagles were playing 94% zone for the first 5-6 weeks on defense, right? I mean, it just jumps off the page that in 2021, the Eagles are running on 72% of early down plays.
That's stats courtesy of our friends at fantasypoints.com. I just saw that, and I was like, wow, that really gives you perspective on how run heavy they are in this run of running the football over the last 4 games. And when you look at this matchup for Jalen Hurts, just the Giants gave up about 68% completion rate to quarterbacks, which is very good if you're Hurts and the Eagles when you throw it. About 7 yards per pass attempt, which is about average. 265 yards per game. Now, the thing is, the Giants are not a good run defense. They're in the bottom half. And the thing that they do, and this surprised me, Patrick Graham, their defensive coordinator, did a great job last year. In fact, he probably will be a head coaching candidate. They're playing way more zone this season. I don't understand this with the way that maybe, I mean, I don't know if it's because of James Bradbury's struggles. Bradbury was great last season, one of the best corners in football. He's not playing well. They play the 5th most zone coverage of the National Football League. So To me, you're going to stick with your run game because it's working. That's why coaches always do this. They stick with what's working.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how well they can protect. The Giants don't have a very good pass rush. Very surprising. They just don't get home. Jimenez doesn't even play anymore, the X-Man. He was inactive last week. He was healthy, I believe. And
it's strange. I thought he was going to wind up being a good player. Oh, you're talking about O'Shane's or whatever.
The X-Men. Yeah,
that's surprising. Yeah.
Ojulari, the second rounder. Lorenzo Carter has been hurt. Yeah, those are their top outside passers. And great, Leonard Williams is really good up front, so you have to worry about him. But they're 34 front. And the Eagles should have no problem against these guys. Every once in a while they show up. The Saints game, they all played well in that game. But overall, this is a beatable defense. But Dory Jackson, the Titans were so down on him, they didn't even offer him a contract to come back. They were not going to pay him, and Dave Gettleman overpaid him. Now he's played well this season. He is on the injury report with the quadriceps injury, which you mentioned. But overall, I'm interested to see how they cover Devontae Smith in this game. And Hurts overall, he's been a big part of the run game. Boy, he's getting a ton of touches. He's touching the ball a ton because he's running it. And they're designing a lot of runs for him, and I'll be interested to see what Patrick Graham, does he have a spy on Hurts this game?
I think the toughest thing for Sirianni and the offensive coaches is trying to anticipate what the Giants might do differently, which is always the case, right? You figure you're doing something really well, and you're doing it to the level that you're so dominant that the opponent is eventually going to try something different than what you've seen. The Saints tried to stop the run of the nickel. They didn't really do, in my opinion, anything kind of different than they would ordinarily do to stop the run. They probably felt that they would be able to do it because they're good at it. And they weren't. So you just, like you mentioned, the Giants aren't that good at stopping the run. Although they have, you look at their personnel, right? Ragland is a run-stopping linebacker. He's not in very good coverage. They got Danny Shelton, who's the epitome of a 3-4 nose tackle. He's played for like 5 teams now. Oh, God, he's built like a keg with feet. He really is. I mean, you just see him in his uniform. He's like more wide than he is tall. So, but he's always been a decent run stuffer in this league. So you got to feel like he's going to probably get on the field. I wonder, as you mentioned, I think in the last pod, or at some point where the Eagles might start seeing more 5-man lines or bear fronts, something where you're putting an extra guy, at the line of scrimmage to try to slow down that run game. And from a schematic standpoint, probably a lot more zone, trying to keep everything in front of you.
That's what they do.
Yeah. But even I would say probably, I don't know what style of zone they play. I wouldn't be shocked if they were playing almost like cloud coverage type of like deep and keep everything in front and try to stop the run and keep anything from Devontae Smith from hurting you deep, because really Devontae's been their only target beyond 20 yards. So there's that one dimensionality of the Eagles offense that we talk about that I think that at some point there's going to be a team that schemes that away from them a little bit, and we'll see if it's the Giants.
Well, they don't take shot plays with Smith. It's intermediate and run after the catch stuff. You saw the crosser last week, which was beautifully thrown to Smith. A couple numbers here just to keep an eye on. Over the last 4 games, Goddard and Smith have 44 targets, and Hurts has thrown it to them 78 times. It's courtesy of our friends at fantasypoints.com. Those are just interesting numbers. Goddard, get a little bit, believe it or not, Goddard's actually got a little bit of a higher target share than Smith. The Giants gave up 4.5 yards per carry to opposing running backs at 7th worst. So you can, despite what you were talking about, you can run on them. And the Eagles are going to come out doing that. And they give up a 65% completion rate to wide receivers.
Right.
Because Bradbury, I don't understand. Darnay Holmes, by the way, is their nickel. Jerry Jackson could run. He's a former first rounder, as we were saying, out of USC for the Titans.
Yep.
I would expect Goddard to be a part of this game like he always is, because you're playing the Giants. They know the Giants are playing 2 backup safeties. The Giants don't rush the passer. So to me, the matchups are good. Oh, the weather, as we speak, early Friday morning right now, overcast, 30% chance of rain. It's overcast, but it won't be very windy. But we'll see if the rain forecast changes. But overall, to me, I expect the philosophy not to change. Very run heavy. I would expect that. I don't know why you would change.
I agree. I wouldn't until somebody made me stop it. You mentioned Ojulari, the kid from Georgia, second round pick, I think, for the Giants.
Yep, correct. Yep.
I noticed against the Bucks, he's playing a lot now. He's got really long arms, man. For a guy who's not very tall, he kind of looks like he can scratch his knees without bending over, which is he's got the Josh Sweat kind of arms where they're just
34
huge.
and a half.
So, yeah. So we'll see what kind of impact that might make, if any, or presence on. It looks to me like he lines up over right tackle mostly. So I don't know, maybe they might move him around, but Lane Johnson, then we'll have to deal with that. Lorenzo Carter has been around the league for a while, right? He's okay, but the guy you mentioned is Leonard Williams. That's the guy who's if there's going to be a matchup that you're a little bit concerned about, that's the guy. And I do wonder if the Giants will look to force the issue up the middle from a blitz standpoint or just a pressure standpoint a little bit more, because I don't think teams have tried that lately, and that used to be. Remember we talked about earlier in the year when you pressured Jalen Hurts up the middle, he would backpedal.
Mm-hmm.
And now teams aren't doing that as much, and we are seeing a better job of him staying in the pocket and climbing it. So what better way to hurt a guy who's climbing the pocket than to try to funnel that pressure in the middle and get him out of there? So, I mean, it's a pick your poison, because if he goes out to the pocket to the right or left, then he's going to probably run for a bunch of yards and kill you that way. But at some point, you got to start trying to force the issue with the guy. And I thought the Saints did a really bad job of that with their mush rush. So we'll see if the Giants are a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, in terms of what do they do to counteract what the Eagles are doing, and learning from what the Saints did. And you were talking about the mush rush,
right?
Which didn't work. It didn't work, and it just, I got to give the coaches credit, and also Hurts credit for execution. His running was dazzling. I never saw him that great of an athlete. I didn't think I wouldn't call him super explosive, but he's shifty as hell, and he's so decisive when he runs. And that third touchdown run,
mm-hmm.
that juke move where it was like you're playing Madden. It was just incredible.
It
surprised me, man. It was cool to see. It's interesting because they're not throwing it. His pass attempts are so far down. He was averaging 35 attempts through 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's averaging the low 20s, and it's working, man. It's working. It's funny in the ITB, our Ask ITB, we got a lot of Jeffrey Lurie questions about is he upset? Is he micromanaging this thing, or is he going to allow this? Like he's just. I mean, he should never get involved. Mm-hmm. This time we're not sure what the conversations are like, but he's clearly like, hey. It's all working.
Works. Yeah.
And it's working.
Look, I think Geoff is smart enough to know that it's not going to be. It can't be like this for 6 or 7 games, and at some point he's going to have to see his offense continue its evolution, open it up, and see if the passing game can work. Because if they start sticking to the script, losing games but still trying to run heavy, then that's going to be telltale about the future of the offense anyway. So I think Geoff, I agree with you. I think he's patient enough and sees the bigger picture here enough to know that he'll get the answers that he's looking for over the course of time, because there's still a lot of football left to play. I think that's a really good point. All right, let's flip the script and talk about Eagles defense versus the Giants offense. Before we get into that, of course, we've told you all week about DraftKings and their fantastic Thanksgiving Turkey Day deals, which was new customers were able to bet $1 on any Thanksgiving NFL game and win $100 in free bets. But that wasn't their only Thanksgiving week benefit. Of course, new DraftKings customers, or all DraftKings customers, can get in on the same game parlay offer that is sweeter than grandma's pumpkin pie. And if you got a chance to get in on that, there was a risk-free bet up to $25 if your same game parlay didn't win. So even though Thanksgiving's over, there's still going to be great odds. There's still going to be fantastic promotions, still wonderful contests that you can take advantage of on DraftKings. And remember, DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now, the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use the promo code ITB to get your sign-up bonuses. That's promo code ITB this Thanksgiving week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Got to be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers apply. Restrictions only. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And our advice to you is take advantage of those same game parlays. That's where you make the real money. I love seeing people, and you see them on Twitter, right, Adam? They'll be like, "Oh man, I had this 11 leg parlay, and I got 10 of them," and I feel for that, man, because I know how tough that is when you build it up. It's always one, right? I swear, there's got to be
ruins the whole card.
Yeah, and it's always one. It's like I always say, someone, why are you doing a 10-leg parlay?
Well, I do like 3 or 4.
Because
like
you bet, yeah, and the answer is always like, because I bet $5 and I can win $5,000. I'm like, do you realize all the things that you have to be right about?
I know.
And then lo and behold, I'm thinking this guy's card is going to explode. He gets like 9 of 10, or 10 of 11, or 11 of 12,
which is incredible, by the way.
It's amazing,
incredible.
Right?
Yeah, you ought to go to Vegas or go to DraftKings if you're that good. But I like 3 team. If you're ever going to do it, like 3 teamers is about the most I would do, because it's so hard. Particularly, I don't bet on the NFL, but if I did, I would do straight ups, because it's so hard. I was joking with a friend of mine. Man, if I'm picking games, if you're picking 16 a week, if you're just picking straight up, there were years where you go 15-1 every week or 14-2 because it was easy to pick games. I'm lucky if I get 10 of the games right. It's just too hard to pick these games.
I'm a big fan of the teasers and moving the lines to make it, of course that brings the odds down, or the financial payout down. But if you're attaching that with 2 or 3 others, then you can do some good there. All right, let's move on. We will talk about the Giants offense versus the Eagles defense. It's funny because I know Eagles fans think Daniel Jones stinks, and if you watch the game against the Buccaneers, you probably were reinforced in that opinion, especially when he threw the interception to Steve McClendon, of all freaking people. He throws it to a defensive lineman, like right to a defensive lineman.
I don't know what happened there. Yeah.
But you and I know, we talk to enough people, and Greg Cosell is one of them, who really studied the tape and say, he's not that terrible, actually. He
said he's
the same things we say about Jalen Hurts as far as when you're inaccurate, I think apply to him. He does not miss, other than the McClendon interception. He doesn't normally miss guys by 3 or 4 yards, or throw the ball to places where receivers aren't, or just look like he's completely confused out there. He takes a lot of hits. He has to get flushed out of the pocket a lot, and that can make anybody inaccurate. Or just not good, but when he's given some time, or when the offense is in a flow, and of course he's athletic, right? The Eagles probably know that more than anything. They probably think Eagles fans think he's a running quarterback.
The all-time call by Bob Papa, my friend who calls the games on radio. Mm-hmm. Pretty certain, you correct me. Didn't he have the big run, but then he fell?
Yes.
Yeah. And Bob's call, he's laughing. It was so good though. I heard the replay many times. He's so great with it. You're right. Daniel Jones will run. They'll fake the handoff, and he'll run. And he's got good long speed. They don't design a lot of runs for him. And remember now, a couple things. Eagles are still playing
last
heavy.
Year, but probably not this year.
Yeah, not this year. Eagles are still heavy zone. But the funny thing about the Eagles, who led the NFL in zone coverage for most of the season, Rams, which no one saw coming, play the most zone coverage, over 85%. Seattle now. Well, Seattle because they play cover 3, but the Eagles are third. And the Giants are 75% zone. Eagles about 76% zone. But the zone numbers, which were over 90%, they're playing a lot more man now.
They are.
So I'll be interested. Yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens if we don't know as of Friday morning whether Slay's playing or not.
Mm-hmm. That changes everything. I wish we knew now, because that really does determine the entire matchup.
Yeah. But even if he does play, I still think a lot of zone, because I'm guessing Freddie Kitchens, because Eagles are not deep at outside corner, would spread them out. Because as you were saying earlier, look at the talent level that they have at wide receiver between Shepard. Well, Shepard's not playing most likely, but Tony, Ross. Oh, Kyle Rudolph, by the way, I should mention he's got an ankle injury. He's their blocking tight end.
Yeah, we mentioned that. We said it. Yeah.
Okay, the wide tight end. Yeah, Cade Smith will take over. They claimed him off waivers years ago from the Niners. He's a tall guy from Stanford.
Yeah.
But they are so deep at receiver, man. If I'm Freddie Kitchens, you should spread them out. That's what he should do.
Don't forget Galladay. He's good too. So they've got options there. And by the way, Daniel Jones over the last since the start of 2019 is the second leading rusher against the Eagles. Ezekiel Elliott number 1, Daniel Jones number 2.
Wow.
Yeah. Now there's a pretty big gulf between Ezekiel Elliott and Daniel
right.
Jones. But Saquon Barkley's number 3. So Daniel Jones has outrushed everybody other than Ezekiel Elliott against the Eagles over the last 3 years.
Right. Didn't Barkley, I think, miss at least one of the games last year?
He did. But you remember a couple of years ago, he had like a monster game in that loss against the Eagles. Yeah. So yeah, he's good. And look, he's healthier. They got the ankle thing going on, but I think this is the guy that they are going to most try to unlock and get the most out of that maybe Jason Garrett wasn't. Saquon Barkley. I think there's just too much talent there for him to be kind of an average running back right now, and that's what he's been looking like. So,
all right, so couple notes here. So the Eagles give up 4.3 yards per carry to opposing running backs. They give up a lot of catches still. They're in top 10 in terms of giving up catches, but they don't give up a lot of big plays.
Catches to running backs, you mean?
Yes, they do. To running backs, yes.
Yep.
Now, the Eagles against opposing receivers are doing a much better job. Now, the only game out of the last 4 they really struggled was against Keenan Allen. I'm not counting the garbage time stuff that they gave up last week in the second half to the Saints. I mean, they were so soft in their coverage. Now, the question is, because as we were saying, the Giants are so deep at receiver, do they press? The Eagles don't press a lot. Do they play a lot of off coverage? Do they play a lot of too deep? Because the Giants have 2 guys who can run. So Keenan Allen, as we know, against the Chargers, they were super off, and he just got a lot of short area stuff. He killed them. So I'm interested to see how they do that against Galladay, Slayton, Tony, and Ross.
Yep. So the Eagles started pressing a little bit more against Denver. That's the first time we saw it. And, if you talk to Quentin, Michael, and Jason Avant, and Greg Cosell, and some of the things we talked about is that there were some, Steven Nelson had some struggles there. Avonte Maddox had some struggles there because Denver had a good set of wide receivers. They all got extensions after that loss somehow. Tim Patrick got an extension. Cortland Sutton got an extension. So, but no, realistically, they have good weapons. The running backs are good weapons. Yeah. Jerry Jeudy's a good player. And the opportunity to beat the Eagles deep was there. It's just that it was not able to be capitalized on because of Bridgewater and the offensive line and the pressure that the Eagles were going to put on. So, this game sort of reminds me of that, Adam, where the Eagles are probably, I would suspect, if they have Slay, they're going to want to take some shots at rushing the passer and capitalizing on the offensive line and Jones. But if they don't get home, there's going to be some opportunities for the Giants to make some pay down the field.
All right, so a couple things are on what you just said. The Eagles are one of the worst in the National Football League covering the tight end. They give up over 73 yards per game to tight ends. They give up big plays down the seam. Albert O got him, if you remember.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Yeah, down the seam. They've had some problems against tight ends. So I would think that Evan Ingram, who's on a contract here, who's basically a slot tight end, they don't ask him to block very much. And you saw Adam Troutman, unfortunately, got hurt. Gosh, the Saints. He went on injured reserve with a knee injury. You saw he had a very good game. The Charger tight ends killed the Eagles.
Oh, God, yeah. All 3 of them. That's
sad
to say,
right.
All 3 of them. And none of them were household names.
Steven Anderson comes out of nowhere. Right,
Listen,
right.
O.J. Howard killed the Eagles, right, when Gronk was hurt. I mean,
yep, good point.
It's been a bad year for them on tight ends.
Right, so they're the worst in the National Football League by yardage, over 73 yards. So you would expect Evan Ingram to get some plays there if Freddie Kitchens does a good job. Now, the Eagles have an advantage here. I mentioned earlier. So let me give you an example of how the Giants' offensive line changed. So in 2020, they started Week 1 against the Steelers with Cameron Fleming, who's no longer on their team. I think he's with Denver now. Yeah. He was the right tackle. Now it's Nate Solder. And Kevin Zeitler. Remember, it's Kevin Zeitler. He's now with Baltimore. Well, Will Hernandez moved from left guard to right guard this season. Will Hernandez is not a good football player. I don't know what is happening.
That out because when he was a rookie, Adam, I thought Hernandez had some potential. He was like one of those nasty lunch pail tough kind of guys, and I thought it was going to suit that line well. They needed that, and he just. I don't know. Maybe he's just slow and plodding. I can't tell because there are sometimes I think he plays well, and other times where he's a turnstile.
So the Eagles have a distinct advantage here. Line games, I would expect the Eagles to play some TE stunts, and they've been doing it more. Their line games have been working.
Right.
Eagles have a decided advantage. They don't have to blitz much. Now, Daniel Jones, one thing, where he's a similarity with Teddy Bridgewater. Cosell uses the stuck in the pocket, Muddy gets stuck in the pocket. He gets stuck in the pocket where he's indecisive and doesn't know what to do with the football. That's when he breaks down mentally and he struggles. So I'll be interested to see because the Eagles are playing a little bit more zone and disguising more. Thank you. Disguising more. So I would do that against Daniel Jones because it makes him. He struggles. He'll hold on the ball when he's not sure what to do.
Right. All right, here's my prediction on the defensive scheme. With Darius Slay, if they have Darius Slay, I do think you'll see a lot of that dime that you saw last week
Oh, yeah.
and Alex Singleton as a fifth rusher. I think they'll send five-man rushes at most. I don't think you're going to see the double cornerback blitzes that you saw last week. I don't think you're going to see really, really exotic stuff. I think you're just going to see extra man pressure, like one guy just to rattle, because that should be good enough. If they don't have Slay, forget about it. I think you're going to see zone, you're going to see soft coverage, you're going to see, let's just hope we stop the run and get our front four pressure going on. I think that they're going to play entirely differently if they don't have Darius Slay. I could be wrong. I'm not sitting here reporting.
I kind of agree with you.
Just based on the evidence that we've seen when Darius Slay is not in the game. That's how I see it. And the big guy, I mean, who's the one guy in the Giants offense, Adam, that you fear against the Eagles because, you know, the offense is going to look a little bit different and beat you? Let's say the Giants offense is looking good. Who's the guy that you're scared of?
Galladay doesn't scare me. He's not a deep threat. He makes contested catches. I would say, though they're not, because of the way that Gannon plays his defense, he doesn't give up the big play. Mm-hmm. I would say Tony, if he gets clear to play with his quad contusion.
I agree with you.
It's because smart coaching, you move him around. He's like a pinball machine. You just move him everywhere.
Yep.
And if they do that, he could hurt them. There's no doubt. In fact, remember, he was a quarterback in high school. Why don't you? They should line up as a Wildcat quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, we should mention Devontae Booker's one of the better backup running backs. If Barkley has any issues in the game, he did a good job filling in for him.
Mm-hmm.
He's got good size. But I would say Tony. That would be my response.
I would probably agree with you. And then secondarily to that, I might say if this Giants offense is about to really undergo some change and some guys are going to be put in better positions to succeed, as you mentioned, what the Eagles give up from a pass catching standpoint to running backs, I would worry about Saquon Barkley. As long as he's healthy. I don't know how much he's inhibited by the ankle, but if he's out there, I'm going to assume he's good enough to play and play effectively, and I would worry about how they use him. It wouldn't surprise me if on some rundowns they went two tight ends and tried to ram it up the middle with them and then spread it out and tried to throw it to him on pass down. So we shall see, but I would worry, just based on the Eagles' history, on what they've given up into inside guys, whether it's running backs, tight ends, slot receivers, that a righted Giants offense could finally get the most out of Saquon Barkley. That's what I would expect. All right, let's finish this off. We'll give our prediction first. I want to remind everybody to go to PHLSportsNation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto, so make sure you're checking them out at PHLSportsNation.com and on Twitter at PHL Sports Nation. We'll pause real quick now for a word from our great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. And if you do head into Sky Motor Cars out there in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You will get a great deal. All right, it's prediction time, Adam. How's this game going to go? What kind of flow and personality is this game going to have?
So I do believe, assume the weather holds up. We'll see if the forecast changes in the low 30% chance to rain. But assuming that the weather holds up, you're going to see the identity of the Eagles continue running the football. They'll have some success. It'll still go through Goddard and Smith. That's not going to change. Miles Sanders has to do better with ball control. Controlling the ball. Don't fumble it. Boston Scott has been, I forgot to mention, he's been a giant killer. It's really amazing.
That's right.
Right. So we'll go over those numbers on our pregame show. But I expect to be a two-man backfield. I don't know if Gainwell will do anything because they seem to only like to use two guys in general. But although I would say when Sanders came back last week, you did see Scott and Howard played. I'd be interested to see because they were not doing that at all. They were never more than two-man backfield until last week.
Right.
So we'll see what they do. But overall, I expect the Eagles to win this game. I do believe the Giants will make some plays. Now, I'll say this: if Darius Slay does not play, this will be a super tight game, and I'd be very worried about the Eagles. If Slay gets cleared, the Eagles will win this game 27-20.
That's a good score, 27-20. I forgot to give the initial line on this. I think the Eagles are favorites, by the way.
3.5 or 3.
First time this year that they are favored in 2 consecutive games.
On the road.
I know, road favorites. That kind of it didn't shock me because I know the Giants are bad, but as we record it now, the Eagles are 3-point favorites. So I don't know if that came down a little bit.
Okay.
Over under of 45 according to DraftKings Sportsbook. What was your predictions? 27-20?
Yeah, the Eagles will win this game. The only thing is the unknown of Freddie Kitchens. It's based on what this coach I talked to knows, worked with Kitchens before. He thinks he'll be aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if Slay plays, they'll be okay. The Giants will be, if they're going to be more, if you're going to come out front against the Eagles, you're going to have to matriculate it down the field, as the late Hank Stram would say,
Right.
because you're not going to get the big play because knowing the speed that the Giants have at receiver, you're going to want to keep everything in front of you, and they'll get some touchdowns.
Right.
But overall, the Eagles will win 27-20.
All right. I'm really wrestling with this one, and not knowing Slay's.
We'll go with if Slay's playing. Go with that.
I'm going to go with if he's playing, but I'm still wrestling with it, man. That I think it should be obvious that the Eagles win just based on how the teams are playing, but there's something about division games, and
I know.
You know, when teams lose, you don't always see it coming. Like, you know, the Ravens didn't see it coming when the Dolphins got them, and whoever the Texans beat, we talked about that last.
Oh, the Titans! Oh my!
I'm sure the Titans didn't see that.
Well, that's because they have no help. I mean, the Giants have help here. They have a lot. I know what you're thinking because the Eagles, the Giants have firepower. The play calling was so atrocious under Jason Garrett. That's why they made the change.
Right.
God forbid Freddie Kitchens gets it going here.
I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be like I'm going to say I think it's going to be wacky too. That we're going to be talking about something strange that you can't have predicted.
Turnovers
in a, you know. Yeah, something like that, or a punt return. You know, whenever the Eagles and Giants play, there's just always something weird that happens. You know. Remember how bad Carson Wentz was in that first game, and then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter he played like Joe Montana and then hit Boston Scott for the game-winning touchdown?
Oh, what a throw that was! Right, sure.
There's just something that's unexplainable when these two teams face each other. So, you know, my gut. I don't normally do this. My gut is telling me to pick the Giants, but I'm not going to do it, and I'll probably be kicking myself after. I'm going to pick the Eagles to win, something like 26-20. All right. 26-20 is what I say.
I got a 27-20. Yeah, right, but here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Do I someone put this out there, the Eagles won 20 out of the last 25 against the Giants?
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
It's just, I'll never forget. I'm going to tell a very quick story. So Les Bowen and I were at the owners' meetings, let's say 5-6 years ago. I won't say who the executive for the Giants was, but that executive was so happy that Chip Kelly was no longer there because I guess he owned the Giants.
I believe he did.
Either he was undefeated or only lost one game.
Well, they had like a 7 or an 8 game winning streak against the Giants at one point.
And that might have been it then. So, although Chip wasn't obviously there for all of them. But anyway, the Eagles have had this dominance. And plus, if you're a Giants fan watching, you know how bad they've been in recent years. It's that once proud franchise has been embarrassing. Mm-hmm. It's Dave Gettleman has not done a very good job. He overspent on Kenny Golladay, overspent on Adoree Jackson. Mm-hmm. You got Bradbury right, although Bradbury's not playing as well as he was earlier in his career. And Leonard Williams, they gave up a lot to get him, and he didn't look good, but he certainly got himself together. But overall, Dave Gettleman's not done a good job, and the result is how bad of a football team they've been.
Right. All right, to your point, Adam, the Giants lost to the Eagles. The Eagles lost to the Giants last year in the second game of the 2-game series, right? They had won the Thursday night game, which was the Carson Wentz game I told you about.
Yeah.
So before the loss on November 15th, of last year, the Eagles had won 8 straight games. So you'd have to. It was before that loss last year. You have to go back to 2016, November 6th, almost 4 years to the time where the Eagles had lost to the Giants again, 28-23 in 2016. Before that loss, the Eagles had won 4 in a row, 5 out of 6, 8 out of 10. And 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 out of 17. So there's your 20 out of 25 right there. The Giants have done terribly against the Eagles lately.
In fact, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Pat Shurmur take over as Eagles interim head coach after Chip Kelly got fired, and they won that week, I think, at the Meadowlands.
That would be 2000 what? The last, it was
15.
To December 22nd, 2016, right? 24-19.
And Andy Reid's last game, was it against the Giants with the Eagles in 2012 at the Meadowlands too?
That might be correct as well. December 30th. That was a loss, a 42-7 loss.
Oh God, that was Andy's last game. They got smoked like that.
They got smoked. Yeah. So really interesting stuff. And the scores are all over the map here. I mean, we've got 34-13 Eagles in 2018. We've got 35-30 in
Miracle Meadowlands 2.
To that. That was a miracle. Yeah. We got 36-21. We got 15-7, 27-0. I mean, like I said, there's no
27-0. Which one was that?
27-0 was an Eagles win in 2014. So that would have been Chip's second year.
Yeah.
Yeah, 27-0 in the first game, October 12th. That was Nick Foles take. Oh, Nick Foles was starting quarterback in that game that day.
Okay.
So, and Eli Manning was not good that day. He was sacked 6 times.
Ooh. Now he's great on TV. Who knows?
Foles was good. All right, so that'll do it. We both think the Eagles win, but I tell you, I might change by Sunday if we get more information when we do it. So make sure you catch our pregame show because Adam and I and some other analysts have been known to change their player of the game, change their pick in mid show to really wreak havoc on the show.
As you called, you said, "Don't do it." You yelled at me. Why would you change it? You know you're going to want it being wrong, and I was.
You are.
The damn Charger game. I vacillated back and forth, and I changed it, and I should have went with the Chargers. Anyway, it is.
Anyway, so make sure you're checking out our pregame show, 10 a.m. on Sunday. All right. That'll do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. Big thanks to Hunter Brody. He's our producer. You can check out his work on YouTube. His channel is called Sports Talk with Broads. His website is called broadsmedia.com. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.